What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Donovan, also known as I'm Hard for Hardbook on both Instagram and YouTube. And today, I'm just gonna be going over some of my recent vinyl finds. It's been about 5 months or so since I made my last video, 5-6 months. I made my last video back in November, right before Thanksgiving. And, since then a lot's been going on. I went on my trip to both Korea and Japan. It was so much fun. If you haven't been to either one of those places, I would highly recommend. It's just a great place just to go to, both Japan and Korea, specifically Japan. I think I like Japan more. Maybe it's because I actually spent more time there. I was only in Korea for a few days. Japan, I spent about like two and a half weeks at. So it was a lot of fun. In Japan, I went to 3 cities. I went to Tokyo, Osaka, and then Kyoto. I went to Osaka, then Kyoto, and then Japan was my last one. But it was a lot of fun. I would highly recommend going. I didn't do any record shopping, actually. I spent a lot of time just hanging out with my cousins and my sister, so that was a lot of fun. It was my first time in Asia, and I definitely want to go back and probably dedicate some days just digging. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I came back in January, immediately went back to school. Didn't really have time to adjust to jet lag, but luckily I didn't have any. It was really minor. Yeah, I had school from January to March, and then what? And then I had finals maybe a few weeks ago. Celebrated my 21st birthday, which was awesome. It was a lot of fun. What else? Oh, I got a job. So I got a job and it'll transition into my internship for the summer. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'll make pretty good money, and then I'll be able to spend some of it on records after bills, Roth IRA, 401k stuff. But yeah, I want to go ahead and show off some of the most recent pickups that I've had. There's a good amount, I would say over a dozen pickups, but I'm gonna go over these pretty quickly. One of the pickups includes one I made today, actually, but yeah, first and foremost, first pickup's not really a record, but it's related. This is the Uncompromising Blue Note, Uncompromising Expression from Blue Note. This was released for the 75th anniversary, so like a little while ago. But this is like a book that goes over the history of Blue Note, the brief history with Alfred Lyon. It talks about Rudy Van Gelder a little bit. The history of jazz. It talks about Michael Kuskuna, who unfortunately just passed away. I believe it was yesterday. In the time of the recording, yeah, he passed away last night, or two nights ago, or 2 days ago. But it goes over some of the really cool. It goes over a lot of stuff, actually. So it breaks down every record by catalog number, I believe, or most of them. Certain albums will have certain pages, but actually, I think they do go over sequentially. But so let's see, let's find like an example. Let's find an example right here. Okay, so right here, this is Freddie Hubbard's Open Sesame, right? So there's a page, album cover, some writing, breaks down the session, who's recording, like the band itself, and then it goes over some like session photography. So it's really cool. This is kind of expensive. I think this is like 85 bucks. It retails for 85 bucks. I managed to get this off of eBay for like 30 bucks, I think, for 20-30 bucks from Human Head in New York. So just keep an eye out for it. I've been wanting one for a while, but yeah. Let's go ahead and go to the pickups. So first pickup is one that I actually purchased before I made that last video, but it didn't come in until after Thanksgiving, and it's this one right here. This is Bill Evans, Jim Hall, Undercurrent. This album's amazing. It's an original on that United Artist Jazz label with the saxophonist. I'm sorry, hopefully you guys can see me. This is a great copy. I managed to get it for a decent price, I would say. Wax, I would say solid VG to VG plus at times. There is some noise, but it's nothing crazy. The jacket does have some wear, has some speckling, some like wear, and because this isn't a laminated cover, so it's gonna wear a little bit more, but it doesn't really bother me actually, because I'm a film photographer, so like when I shoot black and white film, it tends to have a lot of grain, and the speckling is kind of reminiscent of that on this album cover. But great album. Been after this one for a while. My Funny Valentine's great. Dream Gypsy is a great track. What else? Skating in Central Park, Darn That Dream. Those 4 tracks are just great on this. But overall, a great album, a must-have if you're a Bill Evans fan. Next one up is another Bill Evans, Jim Hall. One I found relatively quickly after I bought that. I think I bought this like late November, early December. But this is Intermodulation, Bill Evans, Jim Hall. This is from Beatbox Records in San Diego. So I've been going to Beatbox for the past couple months now, and they've just been having great stuff. This is on Verve. I believe this is a mono. I think this is a mono pressing. This is a first press. Again, great. Bill Evans and Jim Hall, that's kind of like a match made in heaven in my opinion. I like how, at this point in his career, Bill Evans, he's established his repertoire, he's, worked with Miles, he's done his stuff on Riverside, and so, he's a big name, and, but despite being a big name, he's really good at giving other people space. He's not overcrowding the sessions, and you can see that, especially when he's doing his trio, the trio he did with like Scalafaro and like Paul Motion. He's really good at giving other people space, filling in what needed, and then obviously, when he does his solos, it's it's beautiful. But again, those 2 albums are great. The Verve titles Bill Evans did are pretty affordable, at least especially compared to his Riverside stuff. But those 2 are just great. Highly recommend, and I'm very happy to finally add those 2 to my collection. Next one up is a reissue. So I think maybe sometime last year, maybe like 8 months ago, Ryan and I actually called. I think this is before we made our podcast, like 8 months ago. So and for that, I'll discuss that on a later time. But Ryan and I called, I think we went on a call and we talked for hours. I'm telling you, like probably like 10, 11 hours straight. We just talked. I got off work. He's like, hey, let's call. I think we called until 4 a.m. his time. So about like 1 o'clock my time. And I showed him a lot of great music. He showed me a lot of great music. He played a lot of Johnny Mercer. So I've been getting into his music a lot, especially like the stuff that he wrote. A lot of the tracks, they're covered, they're standards. But one album I showed was this one, Cortex, Tropio Blue. Cortex is a French jazz funk fusion band. They've been doing it since like the 70s and 80s. But this album specifically, this is their most popular album. This album has been sampled by many hip-hop artists. MF Doom, Tyler the Creator, a lot of hip-hop and rap artists sampled this album. My favorite tracks are La Rue, which is the opening track, L'Enfant Samba. I like the title track. And then the one that's the most popular one is Hewitt Octobre 1971. So that track specifically is the one that's the most sampled off of this album. But I showed it to him because he loves MF Doom. I know he loves MF Doom. So I showed this to him, and he loved it. He was like, holy shit, because he likes the song One Beer. So I was like, by MF Doom, it's off of his Food album. I was like, listen to this, you'll recognize the sample immediately. He's like, this is an amazing album. So I actually showed it to him, and then I think a few months after that, I went to a local record store here in San Diego. I can't remember the name specifically, but they had a bunch of these reissues. And the problem with this record specifically is, like, because Cortex is based in France or in the EU, you would have to import this through their Bandcamp. And so I think in total to buy and ship one, it's like $70. And so luckily my store wholesaled a bunch of them, or a local store here wholesaled a bunch of them. So I reserved a copy for myself and Ryan. So I sent that to him a few months back, and he's been listening to it ever since, especially since he got a new system. But I'm actually gonna go see Cortex this summer. They're touring North America, I think, and I'm gonna go with my girlfriend, so that's gonna be fun. So if you're in LA in July, let me know. We can link. Next record. So speaking of Ryan, Ryan was very instrumental in helping me pick out a lot of things I wanted last year. And one of the holes, I guess, in my collection is just Lee Morgan, anything Lee Morgan. I love Lee Morgan. He's my favorite jazz musician, but I didn't have a lot of his work before last year. I think in starting in 2023, I only had one record, and that was like an original stereo press of The Sidewinder, which it's a decent album, but it's not my favorite. So this one is actually one of my favorite albums by him, and it's Cornbread. And this right here is a Liberty stereo copy. And in high school, I started collecting records in high school, but I kind of joined too late, because I think by the time I got into records, the Tone Poet that they did of this is already out of print. The Tone Poet for Cornbread and The Cooker were out of print, so I didn't buy it. Plus, spending $40 when you're 16, 17 years old, that's kind of irresponsible, especially when you don't have a good setup anyways. But yeah, this is one that he helped me get, because he went upstate. He lives in Delaware, so he went upstate to his local record store, and he was able to pick this up for me during their 10-year anniversary sale. So thank you so much, Ryan. A very presentable copy, slight ring wear, you know, and for me, most times it would somewhat bother me, but this album is just notorious for ring wear. This album and No Room for Squares. So I showed this in a previous video, right? This is Liberty Stereo. I forgot to preface that. This copy right here is a duplicate or double, and now I don't do doubles. I rarely do doubles. For me, I don't have time to listen to every record anyways. I'm a very busy individual, so having one copy of a record is already hard enough, because, you know, I'm gonna have a hard time listening to it just because I'm super busy, right? I can't listen to every record every day, so that's why I don't really do like doubles. But I just couldn't really help myself. I was on eBay a few months ago, or I think 2 months ago, and I saw this for sale. This right here is an original mono pressing of Cornbread. As you can see, it says Micro Groove, New York, USA. And what's great about this is, one, it's an original, right? It's an original mono, but it's in the shrink, and there's no ring wear on this whatsoever. Like, it's just insane. Yeah. It came with the original inner sleeve, which is awesome. And then the wax is just incredibly clean as well. Like, it's near mint, borderline excellent. Let's see if you guys can see it. Yeah. It's just absolutely beautiful. So the listing had it was an auction, and it was very low. The last like 5 minutes, I think it was at like maybe $20. I can't remember off the top of my head. It was pretty low. So that's why I was like, okay, not a lot of people are also watching it. There's probably barely 10 people watching it. So I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. So last 3 seconds, I was like, okay, I'll bid 150, right? For me, I was just like, I just want to bid because I want to feel included. I didn't think I was gonna win, but I bid 150, and for me, I was comfortable with that because I know it goes for a lot more, but I just was not comfortable paying more than like 150 bucks for a record. But I bid 150 and I won. I think I spent 120 bucks on this for near mint original mono pressing of this in the shrink. Yeah, that was a no-brainer. I immediately texted, because I have a group chat with my friend Ryan, so Ryan I mentioned earlier, a man in his music, and our friend Brian, Battered's records collector. We have a group chat, and I was like, guys, I texted both of them. I was like, please tell me I didn't make, this was like a financially smart move. I think I said like, convince me this is a good purchase, and they both said, dude, that's a crazy purchase. I think I'm gonna keep both, just because one was from Ryan and the other one's just near mint, and I like hearing both the stereo and the mono presentation for this record. So yeah, that's that. Lee Morgan's Cornbread. The next two, or this next one, is also a duplicate. So I don't think I showed this, but back in maybe December, I don't know when I got this, but this right here is Antonio Carlos Jobim's Wave. It's one of my favorite records, favorite bossa records, one of my favorite records on CTI. I love Jobim's work, Wave, Stoneflower, you know, I think Tide is another one, maybe. I think Tide's another one on CTI. But yeah, his work on CTI is great. This is an original stereo with the red cover, and it's great. I love it. Now, my favorite color is green. I love green, and in high school I would stream that specific album all the time. However, on streaming services, it tends to be this cover. When you look at it, it tends to be this cover. So there's a red cover and then a green one. And like I said, I don't like having duplicates. This is purely cosmetic reasons. Like, the record is just generally the same, honestly. They're both really clean. Yeah, I was just very happy to get this. I prefer the green cover, honestly, because my favorite color is green, but yeah, this is an amazing album. Highly recommend. What constitutes a great record for me is like how iconic it is and well known amongst people who aren't jazz fans. Like, I have friends who aren't jazz fans or bossa nova fans, and they love this record. They love this record, and they listen to like modern music that's nothing similar to this stuff, and they love it a lot. So I would highly recommend this to anyone if you haven't gotten a copy. It's like a lot of records on CTI. It's kind of like Freddie Hubbard's Red Clay. I kind of like to use that analogy. It's not, you know, expensive. It's not like a couple $100. It's like under $100, under 50. A lot of times you can just buy it under 50, anything from like $30 to $50. But it's hard to find one in general, and it's hard to find one clean. So that's why it's just a desirable album. Okay, this next one, probably my best thrift find. I don't know if people know about this album in general, much less know about this specific pressing, but this right here is Khan Jamal's Infinity. Khan Jamal was a vibraphonist. He played with Sun Ra and his orchestra, and this was an album he did in the 80s, the early 80s. This is not the original cover. The original cover art in subsequent reissues, it's like a black cover with him playing the vibes. This is crazy. I was in a thrift store maybe 2 months ago, and there was a bunch, and it was in my parents' area. In my parents' area, there's rarely jazz. There's only jazz in record stores, and oftentimes they're not as well curated as something that's in like a bigger city. So that's already a fail. But I went in there and I found a bunch of like 60s to 80s records where it's like jazz or blues. And I managed to find this, and this is the best thing I found. I found like an original Sidney Bechet on Blue Note near mint. What else did I find? I found a bunch of stuff, but yeah, it was just a bunch of random stuff in a thrift store, but this is the best thing I found. I've been wanting this record actually, and I was actually eyeing an original, but an original was like a couple $100 to $1,000 nowadays. So I guess this is the best I'm gonna do, and the cover is actually pretty cool in my opinion. It kind of hurts my eyes, but this one's pressed on Stash, right? And I don't know where this is pressed. I'm assuming like in the EU maybe, or maybe the US, I don't know. But this is a second press in 1988. My favorite tracks is The Known Unknown. That's the first track in side B. And then I love Nubian Queen, Infinity, Lovely Afternoon. So basically, honestly, like all the tracks are pretty good. I think my least favorite is The Angry Young Men, but yeah, insane. Next one up, I also posted this one on Instagram, and it's funny because people tend to, the records that get the most likes on my Instagram are like Blue Notes, or yeah, basically Blue Notes, right? And stuff that is not I'm not saying niche as if it's like super obscure, but like stuff that's like not super mainstream, it just tends to go under the radar. And I think a lot of times people just look at the cover, they look at the artist, they're like, oh, I don't know who the hell that is, or I know who that is, but I don't like their music, or it's not collectible. And those posts tend to not do as well. And for me, like, I don't care, but it's just like a funny observation I had. And this is one of them. So this is Lorindo Almeida's Classical Currents. This is an easy listening album by Brazilian guitarist Lorindo Almeida. So it's on the Warner Brothers label. This is a really special record for me. So first of all, this is an original, but it's an original promo, white label promo pressing, and it is insanely clean, right? Second off, this album is famously sampled by the late Nuja Bess, who was a producer, hip-hop DJ from Japan. He's famous for doing a lot of great instrumentals, and I think he did the soundtrack for Samurai Champloo, which is like one of my favorite animes growing up. It's one of my favorite cartoons growing up. But yeah, this is a great album. Highly recommend it. It's very under the radar. This label as well, Warner Bros. 7 Arts Records, very under the radar as well. I don't know too many jazz albums on here. The only other jazz album I know off the top of my head is I think it's a Vince Guaraldi album. I think it's called Almaville. It's like a blue cover with like green, it's like a green baby or something, I don't know. But this is a great album. Great easy listening to. I've been getting into more easy listening stuff. It's just stuff that I can just mindlessly put on when I'm doing like homework or relaxing, but this album's great. Would highly recommend that. If you're into like Italian, like 60s to 70s Italian, like easy listening soundtracks, highly recommend that. That's really good as well. But the track that's most sampled or most popular is, where is it? Oh, it's The Lamp is Low. That's the track. But yeah, they cover a lot of like classical stuff. They cover Tchaikovsky. Yeah, but the track for me is The Lamp is Low. I remember listening to that in high school, like every day, just every day, especially during COVID. But yeah, okay, these last 5 records are bangers. So this first one is courtesy of Beatbox Records. So this is one that I've been looking for a while. I love Alice Coltrane. I unfortunately don't have a lot of her stuff. I only have a reissue of Journey into Sachindandia, or however the hell you pronounce it. And that was from Ryan. Ryan gave that to me, which is really kind of him. but I don't have any other ones. But I did pick this one up recently. This is Huntington Ashram Monastery by Alice Coltrane. Great album, harp. Pretty digestible, in my opinion. I love her work with Pharoah Sanders, but this is a great album as well. It's, I believe it's her second album that she did on Impulse, and it's a trio, so it's with Ron Carter and Rashid Ali. So, and I think with the absence of a horn, she really shines on this. And it's just a great album. It's very relaxing. I just put this on, sit on the couch, and just be completely immersed. I just have a very spiritual, it's just a very spiritual event when I'm listening to this, or yeah. But this is an original, again, courtesy of Beatbox. The cover is a little bit worn, but the wax is really clean. Again, on that ABC Impulse label, which now that I think about it, I don't know if this is an original or not. I can't remember, but yeah. Anyways, next one is another one from Beatbox. This is not from the same time I picked that one up, but it was shortly after. I went digging and actually found something for my friend Brian, who I mentioned earlier, Battered Records collector. So I was flipping through the bins, and I got to B first because I went from A to B. So I went from A, didn't really find anything I wanted. Then I went to B. I got to Blakey, so Art Blakey, and I was going through, and then I see I believe it was a second or third, I think it was a second pressing of the Jazz Messengers at the Cafe Bohemia Volume 2. So I actually have this record. I have an original pressing of this. So it has Lexington F with the frame cover, with the flat edge, whatever you want to call it, right? This is a second pressing, I think, or maybe a third. It had 47 West 63rd NYC labels. I don't know if it had NYC or New York 23rd. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I found that, and since I already had it, I offered to Ryan and Brian, and they were like, I think at first Ryan wanted it, but then he's like, I can't be spending money right now, so Brian ended up picking it up. And then after I found that, I go to C, and then I find this, Sonny Chris, Jazz USA. This is one I thought I would never find. It's not the most expensive record. It is a pretty expensive record, but you know, if you're comparing it to like Blue Notes and stuff, like this is not as much really, but this is just a hard record to find. I've always wanted this record, and for me, it's already hard enough to find Blue Note, Prestige, Impulse titles, but when it gets to like labels like, this is on Imperial, or New Jazz, like things like that, that's really hard for me to find. But this is an original pressing on Imperial, like I said, with the deep groove. This is a great album. I love Sonny Chris's playing, and I think, and they cover a lot of standards on this. I think Ryan said this album is the best standards album besides Clifford Bound with Strings. He said those two are the top two for him, and I was like, that's a pretty fair statement. I would agree with him for the most part. I could see why he said that, but yeah, this album's great. Sonny Chris. I don't know who else is on here. It doesn't say. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think is Sonny Clark on here? I don't know off the top of my head. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, this is a great album. Pretty cheap. I got it for like $40, which is crazy. It isn't perfect by any means, but I would say it's solid VG overall. Okay. These next two are from the same record store that's near my parents. I've been going there since I was a kid, in high school. But both of these are just insane deals, right? So first one up is this one, Bill Evans Trio, Portrait in Jazz. This is not an original. This is a second or third mono. I think it's the second mono pressing. It has the blue Riverside label. It has ROP catalog numbers. It has the ink, so I think an original doesn't have an ink, and it has a deep groove, so this doesn't have a deep groove either. But look how clean that is. Like, it is immaculate. The cover spine is pretty shredded. It's split, but the front and the back are just super clean. Very presentable copy. The wax is pretty clean too. It's even cleaner in my opinion. Like, look at that. And again, when you're buying Bill Evans stuff, you want it to be clean, just because it's just very quiet music. I love this album. It's the first album with Scott LaFaro and Paul Motion, so it was the first album they did as a trio. I really love, I mean, every song here is great. Like, Autumn Leaves is great. I Fall in Love, Periscopes, What Is This Thing Called Love, Someday My Prince Will Come, Blue and Green, Spring Is Here. Like, dude, this is an amazing album. I kind of held off on buying every issue of this for a while, and I'm glad I did. I was able to find this, so yeah. Check that off the want list. Okay, next one. Again, the same store. I bought that one for $15, okay? This one right here it wasn't $15. Maybe add another zero, but again, a great deal in my opinion. I bought this today. I went in there, and the owner, they just did Record Store Day, so he had some stuff. He's like, hey, I know you didn't come yesterday because I had work. So he's like, look through some of this stuff. It's not priced, but if you want to, we can work something out. So he showed me a bunch of stuff, and he reserved a good amount in for me. He's like, I'll leave this for you. It's all good. It's for you. We'll deal about the prices later. So we ended up settling on this one, and it's this right here. Miles Davis, working with the Miles Davis Quintet. So I think in sequential order, not by recording, but by release date, I think this is the third one, because I think Relaxing was first. But anyways, yeah, look at that. And it's an original on the South Washington Ave address. So yeah, this is great. The jacket is in immaculate shape. And the craziest part about this is, so I bought that Bill Evans, right? Both of these came from the same collection that the record store was selling. And you can tell because on the inner sleeves, all the records have the original inner sleeves, but they're like downbeat reviews and articles that are taped onto the inner sleeves, right? I'm assuming they bought the records and then they taped the reviews on there just to like see like, oh, this is a good record, I should buy this, right? So yeah, but look at that. It's, oh my God, it's so clean. I will say though, there are some corner dings, and then the spine, there's some marks on the spine. It's slightly bowed a little bit, but again, that doesn't really bother me that much. Really clean laminate, no moisture on the back. Again, with the First Great Quintet, I love Coltrane's playing on here. Coltrane and Red Garland are just absolutely on fire on this record. I just love it. I love the opening track. It never entered my mind. That's the opening track. I love that. The wax, like I said, is super clean. Like, look. Oh my God, it's so clean. But yeah, I got this for a decent price. I think I paid $150 for it. The owner, again, it wasn't priced. I just asked the owner, so what do you want for this? And he's like, told me the price, and I was like, that's more than fair. I think he did that because I recently went to Goodwill. I found a bunch of like pop and like 70s, 80s pop and rock stuff that I know will sell quick for him, right? Because he kind of specializes in that stuff. So I bought it, and it wasn't expensive. It was probably like $30. But he takes care of me, and he's an older gentleman and it's a family-owned business. So I was like, you know what, I'll just go ahead and do it for him. So I bought it. I was like, look, like, just put these out for a good deal. Because, I bought them for like $1 each. So it's nothing crazy. But yeah, working with the Miles Davis Quintet. I currently have working, relaxing, cooking. I need steaming. I don't have walking, I think. So I still need 2 more to complete it. But yeah, that's awesome. Okay, and then the last one, the biggest grail. So, little backstory with this one. When I went to Japan, I was in Osaka with my cousin. And at this point, a lot of people, our party was kind of sick. A lot of us got sick, or they got food poisoning. And so the only people that weren't really affected were me and my cousin. And so he and I were walking around Osaka, and we stumbled upon a bunch of these vintage clothing stores. And one of them, we met this guy who I consider a really good friend now. His name is Hidari. So we were chatting up because my cousin actually bought a good amount of stuff. I didn't really buy anything, but I knew I tried helping him shop for stuff. But we met this guy named Hidari, and he's like the manager / proprietor at this specific location. And we were just chatting, and he asked us like, oh, so where are you guys from? We're like, oh, we're from California, and we're just visiting. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. And he looks around. He goes on his phone real quick and texts. Then he goes around the desk, or the front desk or whatever, where the register is, and he says something to his coworker. I'm assuming it's his coworker. And he turns around and he's like, okay, let's go. And we're like, what do you mean? He then walks out the store with us, and he's like, and then he proceeds to show us around Osaka for the next like 3 hours. And it wasn't that far, it was like, we just stayed in like a 3-4 block radius, but he just showed us a bunch of these amazing stores, and he went shopping with us. It was awesome. And one thing he talked about was he was selling, or I mentioned, I love records, I love jazz records. And he mentioned to me he was selling his father's collection, because, he doesn't need it, he doesn't really need it. He'd rather just have the money. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Didn't really think anything of it until I was like bidding on some records or whatever. And I stumbled upon this specific record, and I ended up winning. And I saw that the lister was him, and I was like, holy shit. So I DM him, because I have his Instagram. I was like, hey, is this you? And he's like, yes, that's me. And we had a great laugh. It's super cool that, I have one of his dad's old records. But yeah, this is the one for me. Idle Moments, Grant Green. This is an original stereo press. New York, USA. Yeah, this is the one for me. Yeah, this is a grail. I got a really good deal on this. I've been getting really good deals so far this year. I'm speechless, if I'm being honest. I had a Classic Series reissue of this, and I played it a lot. I played that one, and then Dexter Gordon Go a lot, because I had reissues for those too. And last year I picked up the Dexter Gordon through Ryan. He sold me a copy. He sold me like an earless that was like near mint. And then, I've always wanted a copy of Idle Moments, and I don't have a lot of Grant Green in general. And so to find this for not only a great price, but one that holds a lot of sentimental value, and one that's pretty clean, plays really well, and it's an original stereo. Perfect pickup for me. I don't think it's gonna get any better than this. Yeah, this is a great album. Grant Green, Idle Moments. And yeah, so those are all the pickups I had. Sorry it's a long video. Yeah, but it was pretty long, but yeah. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I know I haven't made a lot of videos in the past, year or so. I've only made maybe like 3 or 4, but I do this for fun, and I love talking to you guys. So if you guys ever want to chat, hit me up on Instagram. I just hit 900 followers on my vinyl Instagram, which is super cool. Super cool that 900 people love the content that I'm posting. So that's awesome. But yeah, I want to shout out a few people. Shout out to Ryan, a man in his music. Shout out to Brian, Battered Records Collector. Shout out Rich from DG Mono. Rich is awesome. He's someone I've been talking to for, the past, pretty frequently for the past couple months. Shout out Trent, Trent's Records. And shout out Ilya. Ilya's great. Yeah, those 5 people are just awesome. And there's so many people that I talk to, like Zalik, Zalik Jazz Records. Who else? James from Jazz and Wasmo. He also runs Glass Bead Records, or Glass Bead Records, yeah. Yeah, but for me, I was reflecting on hitting 900 followers on my vinyl Instagram, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. The fact that I've met so many awesome people in the VC, and it's only been 2 years. I'm super grateful. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for waiting. I know it's been long overdue, but I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll get a podcast up soon for Ryan. We've been so busy, but yeah, I'll see you guys next time. See ya.